Hey, everybody. Sorry about the confusion getting everyone on here.
No problem.
Ellie, it looks like we're not able to get our cameras going. It says the host has stopped it.
Yeah, I can get mine on as well.
Hi, everybody.
Look,
Hey, Chloe, you're on mute.
Thank you. I was just saying, Ali just transferred over host abilities to me. So give me 1 second and I'll go ahead and make sure your cameras can turn on.
It's funny because Ayman usually mutes me. He doesn't usually stop the video, but he mutes me a lot.
Yeah, I was trying to do both. David didn't work out this time.
Hey, Amy,
Hi, Dave. How are you?
how's it going?
Good. Yeah, very
I had
good.
your purse snatched today.
Yeah, and no more purse snatching since I saw you last.
That was crazy.
I know. I've told the story 100 times now since then. Ah,
There we go. Hey, Ayman.
Hi, Amy. Thank you for joining us.
hi. Good to see you. No problem.
Amy, nice to meet you officially.
Nice to meet you, Jim, as well. Do you guys have a preference? You want me to turn on the AU background?
It's up to you, completely up to you.
Yeah, I'm indifferent to it.
Okay. Well,
Amy, you're the one who's putting Dave in the hot seat today, so you can do whatever you want.
Good. I like that freedom.
I'm just finishing a sandwich, so I hope it doesn't offend you all.
feel
my
free to
only
eat away.
chance. This is my only
I-
chance to eat all day.
I think all of our sound levels look good. We're all on. This is a good sign. We got 4 minutes to spare. Ayman, you know the routine, right? You're going to kick us off. You're going to do kind of the housekeeping stuff. Then you will go to introduce Amy briefly, a couple sentences introducing her. And then we're not going to introduce Dave because Amy's going to start the interview, and the whole thing is going to be introducing Dave to everybody. So as of right before this thing, we had over 50 people signed up. Basically what we're going to be doing, Amy and Dave, afterwards is that we will package this and have it available for people who want to meet the dean, listen to it afterwards. So we get a lot more hits afterwards usually than our live event anyways.
Okay.
And for Amy and Dave, I'll after the introductions, Amy, I'll turn it over to you, and then I'll turn off my camera so the viewers will probably not see me, and then I'll come back at 40 minutes past the mark, and then bring up the questions that people are put in the chat box.
Okay. Sounds good.
And if we can't get through all the questions that were, sent in advance, we just don't get through them. So you can use your priority on how you want to structure.
Yeah,
them.
I'll go through and I trim them a little and just
That's fine.
I put just use some of my own words in them. So
Absolutely.
I just didn't want to sound like a robot.
So is the closed captioner, Chloe, going to be joining? I don't see the person on here. You're muted.
We did this 10 more times today. So Zoom is already live captioning, so you should be able to see it at the bottom. Have the option to turn it on.
Okay. All right. So it's not going to be
Amy, are you okay if I tell the story about?
About your first meeting me?
Yes.
Of course.
I was thinking about using the word badass, but I'm not sure if that would be a good.
I know when I told my kids the story, that's the word they used.
It's a perfect word, but I don't know if I can say that on a Zoom. Jim and
Everyone, so it looks like we have some participants joining. So if we want to go ahead and turn off our cameras and get ready.
Hold on, Chloe. So you're gonna participants, you meaning as of the people listening to the webinar. Let's do that exactly at 12:01 or 12 o'clock. So I don't know. Just wait one more minute, okay?
So yeah, it looks like when Ali went ahead and started this meeting, the participants are already on. Yep.
They're already on the call. Okay, that's fine.
Thank you for everybody who's joining us. We'll get started in just a minute. Hi, everyone, and happy Friday. Thank you for joining us. I know some people are still in the process of logging in, so we'll just take just a few more seconds and we'll go ahead and kick off the program for today. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. My name is Ayman Omar, and I'm the Associate Dean for Graduate Programs at Kogod, and it's my pleasure to kick off the program for today. We're excited to have with us Amy Kothari, a proud Kogod alumna, who I'll introduce in a second. And joining Amy is Dean David Marchick, Dean of the Kogod School of Business. Before I turn it over to Amy and Dave, I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping items. Amy will have a discussion with Dean Marchick for 35 to 40 minutes, and then we'll open it up for a Q&A. Please feel free to type in the questions in the chat box. This webinar will be recorded for archival, education, and related promotional purposes. With that, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce our moderator for today's webinar, a proud 93 Kogod alumna, Amy Kothari. Amy is a seasoned CEO and a former CFO and banker with board experience. Back in 2002, Amy left her career in banking and joined My Alarm Center as CFO, and in 2004 was appointed as CEO and board member. She joined My Alarm Center as a startup organization, and it grew from less than $4 million to over $200 million in revenue. Following a merger, Amy stepped down as CEO and remains a member of My Alarm Center board. Amy has also served as an advisory council member for Kogod since 2012. So thank you so much for being with us today, Amy, and thank you so much for all of your service for Kogod and for this special interview. With this, I'll turn it over to you. It's all yours, and I'll join you in roughly 40 minutes. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Aman. I appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Welcome. And hi, Dave. Great to see you again. And welcome to the Kogod community. I want to just kick the interview off by just simply asking you, a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, what your family was like, what brought you to DC, and what brought you to your current role.
Well, thank you, Amy. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you to Jim Waite for organizing this, Director of Alumni for Kogod, and also to Ayman Omar, our Dean of Graduate Studies, who's really a star at Kogod. And to you, Amy, before I do that, I just want to tell you a little story about Amy Kothari. So when I first started here, the team said, we want to give you a list of a few alumni who are just amazing, talented, successful. You have to meet them. And Amy was at the top of the list. So we set up a lunch in Philadelphia, actually coffee in Philadelphia, when I went up there to meet with her. And we're sitting in an outdoor cafe. And we're enjoying ourselves. And then all of a sudden, she screams, "Hey!" I'm like, what's going on? And a woman had stolen her purse right from the back of her chair. And my colleagues and I were sitting there stunned. As we were sitting there stunned, Amy got up and ran after the person, snatched the purse back, and then we were just all sitting there. So she is, I had some words to use to describe her, but I can't use them on a polite Zoom, but she's a strong leader and has quick reflexes, let's say that, and brave.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Let's hear a little bit about you. I appreciate that.
So I grew up in California. My parents were solidly middle class. They both were the children of immigrants. None of my grandparents had high school education. My dad grew up in Wyoming, and my mom grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, where her father was a wallpaper and paint salesman. And I grew up in Berkeley, California, and then Orinda, which is a little suburb. I would say I was a mediocre, maybe that's generous, high school student, and I went to the University of California at San Diego for undergraduate. And the school changed my life. It gave me confidence and competence, and it led me to interest in business and politics. After graduate school and in law school, I I moved back to Washington, D.C., where I joined the Clinton administration. I worked on the '92 Clinton campaign, and I was lucky enough to get a job in the White House, and that launched my career. So I moved to Washington, D.C. in the December of 1992, and I've been here ever since. And my wife and I have two great kids, and we've had a wonderful life and wonderful careers and a wonderful community in Washington, D.C.
That's wonderful. That's a good segue into my next question. Tell us a little bit about your family today. I know that you and your wife have two children that you've obviously raised in DC, and maybe any common themes that you see that run kind of through your upbringing, your current family, and who you are today.
Well, thank you. My wife is a lawyer, as am I. We have a daughter who's at Berkeley and a son who's a freshman at Bates College. They're both happy, healthy, great kids. Although this is Parents Weekend, Family Weekend at AU, so I'm going to be meeting with a lot of families today and tomorrow. We just went to Family Weekend for my son up at Bates College, and we did the traditional thing. We had dinner with him Friday night. We spent the day with him Saturday on campus, then shopped for him for a winter jacket. And about 3 p.m. he said, "I'm going to go to my dorm, hang out with my friends. I'll see you guys later." I was looking forward to Family Weekend, but I didn't realize it would be this much family. So I'll see you later. And that was the end of our Family Weekend.
Good. He sounds very normal.
He sounds, and I said, Pam and I, my wife and I were a little shocked. And then after reflecting, we said, we're happy because he's happy. The school is doing a great job. And it's normal for an 18-year-old to want to be with his friends and not with his parents. So that actually made us happy. And that'll be a story I'll tell families here. Education was a big theme. Again, my dad grew up, his parents had 5th grade education. He grew up in Wyoming, and they had a big family. And, 2 of the kids went to Berkeley, 1 went to Stanford, 1 went to Harvard, and 1 went to Colorado. And so as a kid, the importance of education was infused into my bones. And my mom was a teacher as well. So it kind of brings my life full circle here that now I'm in education at a wonderful place like Kogod and American University. And my parents are actually coming to Family Weekend this weekend at AU because there's an event tomorrow night around my book. And so they'll be proud parents as well.
Oh, that's great. Well, that was exactly the thought I was about to have, was this came full circle for you. So a nice path for your education upbringing to land here. Before we dive into questions about your new role at Kogod, I have 2 more personal questions. I know most of the folks on this call would love to just learn a little bit about, what are you passionate about? What inspires you in both your life and your career?
So in life, it's family, friends, community, and then I have a few hobbies. I'm lucky to have a wonderful family. I have wonderful friends in DC and California and around the country. We live in a wonderful community, and AU is now part of that. Lifelong learning is a passion of mine. That's one of the reasons I took this job. I felt it would be new and I could learn and I could add some value. So doing new things, I think, is something that's always been part of my path in life. And then I have a few hobbies. I like to be outdoors. I like to hike. I like to bike ride. I think this year I've ridden about 3,000 miles on my bike and did a bike ride across Iowa. And I like to do excursions. So I've climbed Kilimanjaro and climbed the Inca Trail or trekked the Inca Trail. And there's so much to explore and learn in life. That's what I like to do.
I saw an announcement of a hike with Dean Dave coming up.
Yes, we have a hike next week along the Potomac in a place called the Billy Goat Trail. And I thought it'd be fun to hang out with some students and get students outside in the beautiful fall colors in Washington, DC. And so
Great idea.
We have a couple bus loads and we have some food and it'll be fun. I hope we have a good crowd.
I'm sure you will. As we shift into talking about your new role, I think it'd be interesting to hear what kind of leader, what leadership traits that you believe are critical for success in this role. And then maybe talk a little bit about your professional career prior to this and how that's going to prepare you for this path ahead.
So thank you for that question. I've thought a lot about the attributes of what makes a successful dean, and I've talked to a lot of university presidents, board members, other deans about it. I think the most important thing that I can do in this role is to be an enabler. The former president of AU and the current dean of the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth, where I taught for many years, basically said the same thing. You're not a CEO, you're a dean. And your job is to enable the faculty, the staff, the students to thrive. And so I see myself more as a cheerleader, supporter, enabler, someone to give the people around here the space, resources, and support to do their jobs well. And then to be an advocate for AU, someone that can go out in the community and talk about the great things happening at school, engage with alumni, raise the resources necessary to make the school better, and support students. And so those are the leadership attributes that I think are the most important. Of course, listening, learning, and then identifying areas of strength at Kogod, which we can amplify, support, and build. Prior to coming here, I really had 3 careers, none of which were planned. So my first career was really in government, where I had the fortune of working for President Clinton for 7 years and doing all kinds of jobs that I wasn't really qualified to do. So I was a deputy assistant secretary of the Commerce Department and the State Department when I was 28 or 29, and I really probably wasn't qualified to do that, but people threw me in the job and I learned. I made a lot of mistakes, but I learned and I thrived. Then after a brief stint at a startup, which didn't go so well, I picked the top of the internet bubble and wrote it down, which was not a great move. I went to a law firm and specialized in international transactions and transactions with a significant political risk. And that led me to do some work for the Carlyle Group, a private equity firm based in Washington, D.C., one of the largest and most successful firms in the world. And I did a project for them and it went pretty well, and they made $1 billion, which was a good day for them. Mm-hmm. And they hired me. And so that began a journey. Again, I really didn't know much about finance, but they gave me the opportunity and I learned. And that began a journey of 12 years at the Carlyle Group, which was a wonderful time, where I was in charge of external affairs, but I was given the opportunity to be on the management committee, one of 8 to 10 people that helped run the firm, helped take the company public, and learned from some extraordinary leaders like David Rubenstein and Bill Conway about finance. And then in 2018, when I fully vested from our IPO, we had a change in leadership and I was tired. I was on the road a lot. I went to China 75 times. I went to Europe, hundreds of times for client work and for investment work. I took a pause in my career and started to teach at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth and served on some boards. And that led me to just get excited about this next chapter of my life, where I've luckily ended up at Kogod, where, at Tuck, I became so passionate about supporting young people and helping pay it forward and helping them launch their careers and learn. And I just was invigorated by the academic environment, and that led me to come to AU, where I'm thrilled to be to help support this great institution.
If anyone told you this 20 years ago that you'd be the dean of a business school?
Well, I joke that they probably didn't look at my grades when I was in high school or college. And my parents are pretty shocked, actually. But
they are.
But I'm excited. It's a great place. And I think that, a lot of life and kind of careers are luck. And I think that the skill sets that I bring to this job are perfect for the school at this moment. So Dean Delaney, who was my predecessor, really did a great job. And he was a traditional academic, PhD, had led other business schools. And he did a really good job with the foundations of Kogod. The faculty is strong. The leadership team, including Iman, are very strong. The school's in very good shape. what is needed for the next phase, I think, maybe plays to my strengths, which is to build relationships with businesses, to enhance the reputation, to build our brand, and to identify a few areas where we can be not good, but great. And that's why I think maybe the school was interested in someone with my background for this next phase of Kogod's development.
Great. Well, I know that the advisory board that I've sat on for a number of years now, we were thrilled with the selection. And there were a lot of conversations actually prior to them even putting together the slate of candidates about bringing someone in, not necessarily from just an academic background, because we felt that we had crossed over to this next phase of building, out through the community and through the businesses. So we were thrilled. I know everyone in the group was super excited about you joining.
Thank you. I'll try not to mess it up.
Please don't. So you've got 2 months under your belt. How's it feel? How's the transition? So any big surprises, good or bad?
It feels great. I'm loving the job. I'm energized by it. I'm kind of, overwhelmed with the opportunity. I just see so much opportunity at Kogod. We have about 900 undergrads, about 900 grad students. The faculty is really strong. The faculty is the foundation of any academic institution. And I've been really, really impressed. I wouldn't say surprised, but surprised to the upside with the strength of the faculty. We have some really great faculty. I guess what I've learned is that we're very good in the core areas of any business school. So accounting, management, marketing, finance, etc. But we also have pockets of strength where I think we're one of the best in the country. So a few areas, for example, we have 4 faculty members who are experts on the issue of race in the marketplace, basically how companies market to diverse and minority audiences, to consumers, and the social implications of that. And I think we're the best in the country in that space. We have Ron Hill, Sonia Greer, and a couple other just outstanding faculty members. Our sustainability program, I think, can be top 5 in the country. This is an area of great growth and an area of great interest among both businesses and students. And thanks to Iman's work, there's a fellow here named Dave Bartlett. We have 4 or 5 outstanding faculty members, Jennifer Etzel, and others who are really top of their game in this space. And this program has grown. We have almost 50 graduate students in our sustainability program this year. And that's an area where I think we can and should be one of the top schools in the country. And the folks that are graduating from our sustainability master's program are going to great firms, including Carlisle hired someone recently from our program, and I didn't even know about that. That happened before I got here. Our analytics program is really top notch as well. Guanhu Lee, who's a professor here, leads that program. And it's big and it's growing, and every business is trying to figure out how they can mine big data, how they can have better analytic capability to micro-target customers, to refine their marketing plans, and to understand what's going on in business. So that's a fast-growing area where I think we have great strength. And then we have this program called Business Entertainment, which was developed by Professor John Simpson. He was a former recording industry executive, non-traditional academic, represented Mary Chapin Carpenter, Harry Belafonte, and others. And he started teaching here, and like me, he just loved it. And so he started a business entertainment program at AU, and it's the 2nd largest undergraduate program we have, maybe 3rd. And it's fantastic. So I met with a parent the other day who's a very prominent person in the entertainment industry, whose daughter goes here. I won't name the name, but her daughter came to Kogod over USC, NYU, and other schools because of our business entertainment program. So one of the things that I'm excited about is finding these pockets of strength and building them, promoting them, and really ensuring that not only do we have good fundamental skills in all the core activities of any business school, but we have pockets of great strength.
Wow, I did not know about, I knew there was a business entertainment program, but that story about that girl making that decision, that's incredible.
It's great.
And that's incredible for AU, and it says so much about the school. As you move out of the transition period, I'm sure you're going to be getting a lot of questions about, and you talked a little bit about it just now, but maybe add some more to it. A lot about your vision. Where do you see Kogod going? What are the opportunities in the short term? What does the roadmap look like for the longer term? And then looking into the future, how would you like people to describe Kogod at the Kogod School of Business at American University in the future?
So that's a classic Amy Kotari question, which I experienced in the hour and a half that we spent together, which is a good, hard question. I guess let me just be blunt and direct, because I just talked about some of the strengths of Kogod, and I think you highlighted some of the challenges that we face. So I think that in my first 2 months, I'd say there are two main challenges that I'm seeing where we need to do a better job. One is differentiating the school. What is our essence? What is our niche? So Wharton is great at finance. Stanford is great with entrepreneurs. The school where I used to teach, Dartmouth, they produce more grad students going into the leading consulting firms, McKinsey, Bain, BCG, than pretty much any other school. So we're actually spending a lot of time on the issue of, like, how do we describe ourselves? What's our essence? And this is an area where actually we would like to engage with alums and our advisory board to really drill down on how we talk about ourselves, what's our differentiation, and who are we? So to me, some of the kind of critical attributes that I'm thinking about, but again, it's something that we need to have a dialogue with all of our stakeholders on. Obviously, people come to American and Kogod because of our location. We're in Washington, D.C. It's an international capital. The internships, externship opportunities are amazing here. Second is that Kogod can leverage the strengths of the other parts of American University. We have a top 10 international school, a top 10 public affairs school. We have a great law school. To me, the type of student that we should be attracting is the type of student that is interested in being excellent in that nexus of business, government, and society. That's where we can be great. My career has been one that has spanned business, government, society, nonprofits, and increasingly when I talk to people, on Wall Street. After we met, Amy, I went up to New York and met with some very prominent people in the largest banks in Wall Street. And they said that increasingly the leadership of their institutions, the board, the CEOs, are focused on this issue of the nexus with the business, government, society. So regulation, reputation, their employees are increasingly looking to their CEO as a leader, a moral leader, and a leader that can focus on community, as other institutions lose credibility. Government has lost some credibility. Obviously, the Supreme Court is challenged right now. And so business is playing a larger role as a beacon of leadership. And those are the type of students that I think we should be attracting to Kogod. But that's my initial instinct after 2 months. I want to engage with the alumni, with the advisory board leaders like you, with the faculty and staff to figure that out. Then the second area where I think we can and should do a better job is promoting our faculty and their research. We have some incredible faculty that's doing cutting edge research. We have a professor named Hung Shu, who is one of the leading experts in cybersecurity in the country. And so I'm really focused on making sure that the rest of the world, the rest of the United States, other business schools, and our students and our alums know of the great work of our faculty, and that's another area of focus.
Those are both great ideas. I mean, as you look at so many of the companies today and the focus on ESG and getting involved in all these different areas, and as you said, the strength of the sustainability programs at AU, I see this starting to make sense. And I think, that will be how we talk about AU in 5 years and 10 years.
Well, next week when we meet, this is the area of our conversation, so I look forward to getting your advice on that. And I
Good.
love the input and advice from other alums on the call.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to our first in-person advisory board meeting with the new dean. So I think it'll be a very productive event. Kogod, has always been, and the All of American University has always been proud to hail students from not just, the East Coast in the US, but all over the world. So the alumni network is very broad and deep. How are you going to start factoring that into your travel plans? And I know everyone's going to want to meet you and be able to hear your story and your passion and vision live.
Well, I actually want to hear your stories. I want to hear the alumni stories. So my schedule is already building for alumni events. I started in Philadelphia with you and New York with a number of leaders. I have plans to be in San Francisco in a few weeks. We're looking at a Miami or South Florida event. We're looking at a Boston event and a Washington event, Southern California event. I write a note to the faculty and staff every week on kind of some topics. And this week, actually, the note is about impact. And I start with the story of my son basically blowing us off at family weekend to be with his friends, and the sign that that was a success for the school where he attends. And the note continues with, I met with an alum who's the president of a major pharmaceutical company with global reach. One of the name brand pharmaceuticals went to Kogod, and I heard his story and how Kogod changed his life. And when we walked away, he shook my hand. He said, "Oh, by the way, say hello to Professor AJ for me, Kodakari. He changed my life when I was at Kogod." And I'm going to relay that story to the faculty and staff as part of this note that I have about impact, because I know that my undergraduate and graduate schools changed my life, and I'm grateful for them. And particularly my undergraduate school, I'm very active. I was on the board. I've been a active donor. They changed my life, and I want to give back. And so I want to go around the country and around the world. We're going to Korea. We're going to be in Europe in the spring, meeting with alums and hearing their stories about how Kogod changed their life. And then hopefully, with a few more months under my belt, have a vision to take Kogod to the next level, where alums can buy into that vision, help shape that vision, and then ultimately help contribute to helping Kogod reach the next level. I'll just close this question with a story which David Rubenstein, my former boss at Carlisle and friend and mentor, came to Dartmouth, and he said, the most important thing you can do is when you're alums is support Dartmouth. And I would say the same thing for Kogod grads. You supporting the school helps the school be better. And David always joked, you always want a school to be better than when you graduated, because I know that I couldn't get into the school where I attended now if I were to apply now. And because of alumnus and support, that school is a lot better than when I went there. And that makes me proud. So I hope that Kogod alums are proud of this great school.
Yeah, no, and I think they are. I just think we haven't tapped into it. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity. And when I see you next week, I'll tell you my story of why and how AU made a difference. And I think most alumni that come out of AU have a similar story, because it is a special and unique school. So you're obviously going to be very busy, but you clearly thrive on being busy based on your career and your history, including recently publishing a book. So what inspired you to write Peaceful Transition of Power?
Okay, thank you. That's good promotional opportunity for a book that comes out next week.
Jump in.
I like the softball question. Thank you. I like it better than the tougher questions you ask. So I worked on a project with the Partnership for Public Service, which is a nonprofit, around the presidential transition of 2020. And I helped the Biden team architect their transition. And then I also worked with the Trump White House on the exit from power. And I hosted a podcast on presidential transitions during the 2020 cycle, where we examined every single modern presidential transition from Carter forward, and then some of the historic transitions like Buchanan to Lincoln, and Hoover to Roosevelt. What worked, what didn't work, and how we can make presidential transitions better, faster, and smoother, since it's part of the fundamental elements of our democracy. So the book comes out next week. Every other aspect of the presidency has been studied to quite a bit. There are 15,000 books on Abraham Lincoln alone. This is one area where there has not been a lot of work, and I thought I maybe could contribute. We're actually having an event tomorrow night at AU for Family Weekend with Sylvia Burwell, the president, moderating a panel with two former chiefs of staff, Josh Bolten, who was the chief of staff for George W. Bush, and John Podesta, who was chief of staff for Bill Clinton, and then ran the Obama transition, and now is back in the Biden White House, and me. And we have incredibly 1,500 people coming to Bender Arena to learn about transition. So I'm excited about that event, and
That's gonna be a great event.
1,500 people is pretty cool.
No, that sounds like a really great event. I want to go back a little bit and talk for a second about one thing I forgot to ask you about is I know you've had a long relationship with President Burwell. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you guys know each other and your thoughts on working together going forward.
Okay, so another good question that I wasn't expecting, but I'll see if I can wing it here. Talking about my boss. So Sylvia and I have known each other since 1993, when we were in the Clinton White House, and we worked in the White House on NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. She was chief of staff to Bob Rubin, and I was part of the National Economic Council. We called it a war room on NAFTA. And we became friends. And, when you're young, you are always around one or two people where you think those people are really amazing. And Sylvia was one of them. Another is a fellow that's now our ambassador to Israel and was vice chairman of Morgan Stanley, Tom Nides, and another great friend. She has an exceptional intellect, infinite capacity for work, great EQ, and passion for what she's doing. And, so we've been friends for a long time, and I'm thrilled with the opportunity to work with her again. I've seen her, and I really haven't worked with her for 30 years. And so now seeing her in action again, like I did when I was 25 or 26, it reminds me just how good she is and what a strong leader she is. And also, how she's evolved, because we all are very different than when we were 25 or 26. She's really an amazing leader. And if you look at her resume, it's hard to, there are not many people that have been deputy chief of staff of the White House, head of two major foundations, cabinet secretary twice, and now university president. And she's doing great things at AU, and she's one of the reasons that I came.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that was a big part of it. And I think that, the combined leadership of the two of you, you also have, a background and a resume that is, very unique coming in here. And I think it's a compliment to hers. So again, expectations are high, no pressure.
I'll try not to mess it up.
I have very little doubt. I think all of us have very little doubt about it. One of the other, can I throw you another one unexpected?
Okay.
Is everyone talks, we all know, we all have kids that go to colleges and everyone looks at the rankings. Where does the school rank? Where do the different programs in the school rank? Can we talk a little bit about that at AU?
Yeah, of course. So let's talk about Kogod. So Kogod in the US News and World Report study of MBAs is ranked in the 70s. In Bloomberg, we just ranked 47. So we were very happy that we broke the top 50. The surveys are different. US News, the bulk of the ranking is based on peer review. So they send a survey to other deans, and 40% of the ranking is based on the way that other deans rank AU. So clearly, we have work to do to communicate our excellence to other deans. And so that's part of what I'm going to be doing, is communicating with other deans about the strength of our faculty. I'll be going on a meeting with them. I'll be active in the business school association. The Bloomberg rankings are based on employer feedback and alumni feedback. And so what that says to me is that the people that actually know Kogod the best, who are employers who hire people from Kogod and students who went to Kogod, rank us higher than other schools do. And so to me, that's a sign of strength, but it's also a sign that we need to do a better job to communicate about how great Kogod is to other schools, and we'll be doing that as well. We're ranked in the top 10 for international business. We're ranked in the top 10 for diversity. We have strong rankings for our online education programs. And we're also ranked in the top 10 for what's called the Green MBA, which is really about our sustainability program. So I think we have signs of great strength, but I'm also a lot of opportunities to improve.
Okay, great. No, thank you for that. I know we covered a lot of ground and kind of bounced around a little bit. I apologize for that.
No, it's great.
But anything we didn't cover?
I guess I would use this opportunity to say that I really hope to hear from alumni. I want to meet with you. I want to get your advice. I want to get your mind share to help you think about the school, what made it special for you, and how we can engage you to help students, to help the next generation, to help pay it forward. I'd love to have as many alums come to campus, meet with students, talk about your career. And I think, one of the things, I'm 56, that as I got, a little older, I used to think 56 was old, and now I think it's pretty young. I developed just a great amount of psychic income, not actual income, but psychic income from engaging with young people at my former alma mater at Dartmouth. And I really invite alums to do the same. I think it'll make you happy, and you'll get psychic income out of it.
Well, and I can back that up. 10 years ago, it's okay. Did your lights go off?
Yeah, there we go.
10 years ago, I spoke in a class at the business school. And just quick story, but recently when Kogod had an event in New York, a woman alum came up to me and she said, I changed a decision in my career path because I listened to you speak in my class. And she relayed to me the whole story of what I said, which if you asked me what I said that day, I wouldn't remember.
You probably couldn't remember it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to remember. So to be able to have that kind of impact, I do encourage any of the alumni listening to this. It was fun. It was a great opportunity, and you make a difference.
You do.
So with that, I'm sorry, Dave, I cut you off. Were you about to say something?
No, that's it.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Iman. Thank you very much. And this was fun. I think we learned a lot.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you, Dave, for a very engaging conversation. The word you brought up, Dave, a few times is being engaged with different constituencies, different stakeholders, different groups. How do you keep up being engaged with your network? You have a very wide and strong network. How do you keep engaged with that network on a continuous basis, given how busy your schedule is and given all the demands on your time as well? How do you manage and juggle both?
So, my wife would say I'm hyperactive and never relax. I'm not sure if bringing marital views into an alumni event is probably a good idea, but I work pretty hard. I derive energy from people, and I've been blessed to have great people in my network that have mentored me, that have been friends, or that I mentor. And I love it. And I'll just give an example. Ayman and I met with the ambassador from the UAE to the United States 2 days ago to talk about a trip that Ayman's going to do. And the fellow Yusuf Oteba has been a friend of mine for 20 years. I met him when he was young. He became ambassador. He's the second most senior ambassador in the United States. And we went to lunch with him, and he kept getting interrupted with calls from the National Security Council. And what he was engaged in was energy diplomacy about the OPEC decision that was made yesterday, where OPEC decided, unfortunately, to reduce the volume of production by 2 million barrels, which I think is a negative decision for the world economy. But here it's an example of where I knew someone from a different life. We kept up, and now that relationship can benefit Kogod. And he set Ayman up with the Minister of Education for a meeting. And I just feel blessed to have this network that I can now deploy to support Kogod.
Yeah, that was definitely the fastest I've been connected with 2 ministers in less than 24 hours. But
I mean, the other thing I would say goes back to the question that Amy asked about kind of, what drives me. And my former boss, David Rubenstein, when you meet him, he asks people questions, tell me about your background, tell me about this. And I learned from him that not only does asking questions and being a good listener kind of help satisfy and engage intellectual curiosity, because I can learn something from everybody, but also allows you to engage with other people. And so I spend a lot of time, my time asking about other people's lives, other people's success, their failures, their challenges, and I can learn something from everybody.
thanks, Dave. Another question is, you talked about your experience at UC San Diego and how that gave you confidence and helped you shape your career as you moved forward. Did that provide you with more ammunition to follow your passion? And the second part of the question was, we always sometimes hear the phrase of follow your passion, follow where you would like your thinking is. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so great question. And these are questions from alums that are coming into you, right?
From the audience, so it's a
Yeah, from the audience.
combination
Okay.
of alums and others. Yeah.
So as I mentioned, I was not the best high school student. I was probably more interested in girls and screwing around than studying, which my parents were not happy with. And I went to UCSD. It was the only school I applied to. My parents basically said, you can go to any University of California school, we'll pay for you. And I basically chose it because I knew a cool guy that went there a couple of years before I did, and it was the farthest away from Berkeley. So it was not a thoughtful, methodical process. And when I got there, I basically didn't know how to write. I was a terrible writer in high school. And I had a professor in a seminar who basically took the time to teach me how to write. And he changed my life, because being a good communicator is an essential skill for any profession. And then I also got involved in student government. And I was kind of a, shy, kind of little awkward, probably kid. Maybe my wife still thinks I'm awkward. And I got involved in student government. I ended up running for student body president and winning. And that was a big confidence builder for me, because it basically, I was not the most popular guy. I actually ran against the most popular person in college. He was the president of the fraternity, much more socially gifted than I was. And I won. And it gave me confidence to do things outside my comfort zone. So, UCSD really changed my life, and I'm forever grateful for the school and have been supportive since. And then your second question again was
we hear the phrase follow your passion.
follow
Do you
your
agree or
passion.
disagree?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I always counsel young people to find that Venn diagram overlap between what you're good at and what you're passionate about. If you find something that you're good at, but you really don't enjoy it, you're not going to be successful at it. And if you find something that you enjoy, like I like basketball, but you're not very good at it, like I'm not, you're not going to succeed. And so finding that Venn diagram overlap of your passion and what you're good at, I think is really an important skill. In my case, it's kind of leadership, learning, net connecting, creating a vision, and driving processes forward. And I've learned that that skill set can be used in government, business, nonprofits, and academia. And it's worked pretty well for me. And now, now I'm in a new environment. I have a lot to learn about the new environment, but those essential skills, I think, can help make one successful.
Thank you. Another question is, we're always constrained by resources. If money was not a constraint for the school, where would you start spending or investing that money in?
So great question. I think that if I would love to have more money at Kogod for student support, creating opportunities for people that wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to come to Kogod would be the top priority. I know it changed my family's life. My dad grew up dirt poor and got a scholarship. Luckily, he was able to pay for me to go to public school in California. So that's number one. Number two is supporting our faculty and faculty excellence. It's a very competitive market for faculty. Faculty are the lifeblood of the school, and we need to be able to retain and attract the best faculty in order to not only do a great job for our existing students, but also to take the school forward. And then third is there are a few areas where I see great needs to invest, where we can be great. Sustainability is an example. We are going to hire a new faculty member of sustainability. We would like to hire two, actually. We're launching a speaker series on sustainability leadership. We're just thinking of the name of that speaker series, but we already have CEOs of companies like Marriott and a billionaire from Africa and the founder of Honest Tea coming to speak. So I'd like to be able to do more of that. And then fourth is experiential learning is so important. And it's an area of AU's strength. I know, going back to my own experience at UCSD, the classroom experience of a professor teaching me how to write, but then the student government experience, that latter experience was foundational for me. And in Washington for AU, it's about students having access to internships, programs abroad like the one that you just led. I'm in Panama and Costa Rica for our students. We have these programs where students go abroad to do case studies and to do consulting projects and to study real business problems. And that it enriches our student experience, and it also makes our program more competitive. So those are the 4 areas where I'd love to have additional resources: students, faculty, programs, and experiential learning.
Thank you. One more question is general thoughts on the future of higher ed, and what determines what kind of business schools would survive the marketplace as we move forward versus really struggle as we address different challenges?
Okay, so that's a great question, and not a softball like Amy's question about my book. Business schools are challenged right now. Students, the economy is great. Companies, finance companies and large companies are paying their students not to go to business school. If you look at the top 10 programs, I think 9 out of the 10 experienced double-digit percentage declines in applications this year. 11%, 15%, up to 20%. I think Darden, UVA had an increase, but otherwise, all 9 of the top 10 had drops. For schools with smaller programs like Kogod, smaller MBAs, it's also a challenge. So, you know, the University of Maryland's incoming class, I understand, has 30 students. And so it's a very competitive environment. Students are evaluating the costs and benefits. And, you know, I think that we have a great value proposition and great successes for our alums and our graduates. And I think that with lots of information in the marketplace, it's more important that we not only have great programs, but we're also able to articulate why our programs are great.
Perfect. Thanks, Dave. And with that, I'd like to turn it back to Amy to wrap us up and end our webinar.
Great, thank you so much. So Dave, I think this was a great event. And I'm thrilled to know that this was recorded, because I think that as we spread the word, people are gonna, I've had a lot of questions about, oh, you got to meet Dean Dave. Can you tell me more about him? So I think this is a great way to kind of put this out there and give people an opportunity to get to know who you are. And I think you're going to have a lot of energy and support behind you as you start this new chapter in your life. So thank you, and thank you everyone on this call for joining today, and for the entire Kogod community.
Thank you very much, Amy. Thanks for your leadership as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Amy.
everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Dave. Thank you.
Thank you.